Hey guys, and welcome to Born in the Past. Tonight we journey north, past the edge of the known world, into a land of biting frost and long, dark nights. We travel to a time when myth and reality were one, and the world was holding its breath, waiting for the end. Together, we will step into the life of a Norseman who isn't just living through a harsh winter, but through the Fimbulwinter, the final 3-year winter that signals the coming of Ragnarök, the Viking apocalypse. We will explore why, for them, survival wasn't just about finding food. It was about finding an honorable death worthy of Valhalla before the world was consumed by fire and ice. So before the first horns of the final battle sound, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Born in the Past if you enjoy these journeys into history's most brutal realities. And as always, I love to see our community. So let me know in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is in your part of the world. Alright, stoke the fire, pull your cloak tight, and let's face the coming twilight of the gods. The sun is a pale, forgotten memory, a ghost. You try to recall the feeling of genuine warmth on your skin, the sight of a green field, the taste of fresh berries. But the memories are thin and brittle, like old ice. For 3 years, there has been no summer. 3 long, brutal years of biting wind and relentless snow. The old ones call it Fimbulwinter, the Great Winter, the first undeniable sign that the prophecies are coming true. The age of men is ending. The twilight of the gods is upon us. You stand at the entrance of your longhouse, looking out over your small village nestled in the fjord. The world is painted in only 2 colors, the stark white of the snow that blankets everything, and the grim, oppressive gray of the sky. The sea itself, usually a source of life and bounty, is choked with ice floes, its waves a sluggish, gray sludge. The wind howls down from the mountains, a sound like the mourning of a great beast. It is a wind that does not just chill the body, it chills the soul. Inside the longhouse, the mood is as bleak as the landscape. The great fire in the central hearth, once a roaring symbol of warmth and community, is now kept small and miserly. The wood stores are dangerously low, but it is the hunger that is the worst part. The gnawing, hollow ache in your belly is a constant companion. The salted fish from 2 seasons ago is nearly gone. The grain stores are empty. Last week, you and the other men had to kill one of the last remaining milk cows, a desperate act that felt like murdering a member of your own family. The meat is already gone. This winter has frozen more than just the earth. It has frozen the bonds between men. You look at your neighbors, not with the warmth of kinship, but with a cold, calculating eye. You count the number of children they have. You gauge the strength of their arms. You wonder how much food they have hidden away. Trust has become a luxury no one can afford. Last month, a family on the far side of the fjord was found slain, their small store of dried meat stolen. No one searched for the killers. To survive Fimbulwinter is to become a wolf, and wolves do not mourn the fate of other wolves. Your own children are thin, their faces pale, their eyes too large. Their laughter, once a constant source of light in the longhouse, has been silenced by the cold and the hunger. They huddle by the fire, wrapped in furs, their conversations reduced to whispers. They are afraid. You see the question in their eyes every time you return from a hunting trip with empty hands. You are their father, their protector, their jarl, and you are failing them. You clutch the small iron hammer that hangs from a thong around your neck, a symbol of your faith in Thor to protect you. But Thor's strength seems far away now. This is a cold that even the god of thunder cannot break. You stare out at the unforgiving landscape and you feel a profound sense of dread. The sagas, the stories the Scalds told around the fire in the good years, spoke of this time. They spoke of brothers killing brothers, of a world where all bonds of kinship would be broken. You are living in that prophecy now. This is not just a hard season. It is the dying of the light. The world is holding its breath, waiting for the wolves, Skull and Hati, to finally devour the sun and the moon. It is waiting for the sound of Heimdall's great horn, Galahorn, which will signal the beginning of the final battle. You do not know if you will live to see it. Part of you prays that you do, so that you might die an honorable death in battle and feast in the halls of Valhalla. But another, deeper part of you, the part that sees the fear in your children's eyes, prays that this winter will break. It is a prayer you know, with a cold certainty in your gut, will not be answered. The end has begun. You are a man of this world, but your world is not made of simple rock and ice and water. It is a living map of the gods, a storybook written in mountains and stars. You do not see a landscape. You see a saga, a divine battlefield where your own small life is a footnote. You look up at the colossal, snow-shrouded mountains that wall in your fjord, their peaks lost in the gray, churning sky. To a southern man from the lands of Christ, they are just mountains, a geological feature. To you, they are the border wall of Jotunheimer, the realm of the Jotnar, the frost giants. They are your ancient enemies, the forces of chaos that the gods are constantly fighting to keep at bay. Every avalanche that thunders down their slopes is a giant stirring in his slumber. Every blast of impossibly cold wind that descends upon your village is the icy breath of a giant, a reminder of their hatred for your kind, the small, warm creatures of Midgard. A great, ancient ash tree that stands frozen in the center of your village, its branches stark and black against the snow, is more than just a tree. It is a child of Yggdrasil, the great world tree, whose roots bind the 9 realms together, and whose branches scrape the heavens. Your world, Midgard, this small, fragile enclosure, is just one of those realms, protected from the chaos outside by the strength of the Aesir, the gods of Asgard. Last night, the sky put on a terrifying display. Shimmering curtains of green and purple light danced across the heavens. The elders, their voices grim, called it the Bifrost, the shimmering of the rainbow bridge that connects your world to Asgard. But its appearance now is not a sign of comfort. It is an omen. It means the gods are restless. It means they are riding to war, or that Heimdall, the ever-watchful guardian of that bridge, can see a new threat on the horizon. A few weeks ago, a tremor shook the ground, a deep, unsettling rumble that traveled up from the Earth's guts. It was not the ice shifting on the mountains. It was the chained god Loki, the trickster, the shapeshifter, the father of monsters, thrashing in his subterranean prison, where the venom of a serpent drips onto his face for eternity. Every tremor is a reminder that his bonds, forged by the gods, are weakening. A reminder that he will one day break free to lead the armies of the dead and the giants against Asgard in the final battle. The storms that batter your coast are not just wind and water. You know this. When the thunder cracks with a sound so loud it shakes the timbers of your longhouse, you know it is the sound of Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, crushing the skull of a giant. When lightning splits the sky, it is the sparks flying from the wheels of his goat-drawn chariot as he rides across the clouds. You are not just experiencing bad weather. You are a witness to the gods' eternal war, a war they are fighting on your behalf. But you fear their strength is fading. The Fimbulwinter is proof of that. To live in this world is to know that you are a pawn in a cosmic game. You are the prize in a war between the gods of Asgard and the giants of Jotunheimer. And unlike the men of the south with those stories of eternal paradise, you have already heard the ending of your own tale. The skalds have sung it, the runes have foretold it. The gods will fight bravely, and the gods will lose. Odin, the All-Father, will be swallowed by the great wolf Fenrir. Thor will kill the world serpent Jörmungandr, but will then take 9 steps and fall dead from its venom. The world, your world, will be consumed by the fire of the giant Surtur, and then it will sink beneath the waves. Every strange event is now filtered through this lens of prophecy. A wolf howling closer to the village than ever before. Is it a simple, hungry animal, or is it a sign that Fenrir, Loki's monstrous son, is straining at his own chain? A fisherman reporting a serpent of impossible size, seen in the deep waters of the fjord. Is it a tall tale, or is it Jörmungandr, beginning to stir from his slumber at the bottom of the sea? Your world is no longer a world of repeating cycles. It is a world of signs, and all the signs point in one single, terrible direction. The prophecies your grandfather told you as stories by the fire are no longer stories. They are the weather report. And the forecast is apocalypse. A sound cuts through the ceaseless howl of the wind. It is not the rumble of a distant avalanche or the crack of shifting ice. It is the deep, resonant blast of a horn, a sound that speaks of purpose and command. It echoes through the village, a call that no able-bodied man can ignore. The Jarl summons his warriors to the great hall. You pull your heavy wool cloak tighter around you and step out into the biting wind. You make your way across the snow-covered ground, your feet crunching in the unnatural silence that follows the horn's call. You join a stream of other men, all walking with a grim purpose towards the largest building in the village, the longhouse of the Jarl himself. You enter the hall and are immediately hit by a wall of heat and smell. The air is thick with the smoke from the great central fire pit, which stings your eyes and throat. It smells of wet wool, unwashed bodies, and the sharp underlying scent of collective anxiety. The hall is crowded. Every warrior in the village is here, their gaunt, bearded faces illuminated by the flickering firelight. These are men who have fought and bled beside you, men who have shared feasts and laughter in this very hall. But now, their eyes are hollow, dulled by hunger and the profound weariness of a world without hope. The usual boisterous energy of the mead hall is gone, replaced by a tense, waiting silence. The Jarl, old Harold Ironhand, stands on a raised platform before the fire. He is a great bear of a man, his hair and beard as white as the snow outside, his face a roadmap of 100 battles. But the strength that once seemed to defy age has been weathered away by this endless winter. He is stooped, his broad shoulders slumped, as if he carries the weight of the entire village's survival upon them. Yet in his eyes, as he looks out over his assembled men, a flicker of the old fire still burns. He lets the silence hang for a long moment, meeting the gaze of his warriors one by one. He does not waste words on pleasantries. His voice, when it comes, is a gravelly rumble, the sound of stones grinding together. "The grain is gone," he says, his words falling like axe blows into the quiet hall. "The last of the cattle is eaten. There are no fish in the frozen sea. The scouts return with no game. To stay here is to die." He pauses, letting the finality of the statement sink in. We can wait for the thaw. We can pray to the gods that this winter breaks. But in my heart, I know it will not. This is Fimbulwinter, and the sagas are clear. We are destined to die of hunger in our beds. A straw death. A death of shame. A death that closes the gates of Valhalla to us forever. Our ancestors would spit on our names. A low murmur of agreement, a sound of pure despair, runs through the assembled men. Harold raises a hand, and the hall falls silent again. A new energy enters his voice, a spark of the great warrior he once was. "But there is another path," he roars, his voice suddenly full of fire. The sagas do not only speak of endings, they speak of beginnings. They speak of lands to the west, across the great sea. Rich lands, green lands, lands where their god is a soft man, nailed to a tree, and their warriors have forgotten the bite of the axe and the howl of the wolf. He takes a step forward, his eyes blazing. We will do what our fathers and their fathers before them did. We will become wolves of the sea. We will take our longship, the sea serpent, the last great treasure of this village, and we will sail west. We will find these lands, and we will take what we need to survive. We will take their food, their silver, their cattle. We will bring life back to this village. He lets his words hang in the smoky air. The men look at each other. It is a mad plan, a desperate final gamble. But it is better than the slow, quiet madness of starvation. The Jarl sees the doubt in their faces. And if we fail, he bellows, his voice now a challenge to the gods themselves. If the world serpent, Jormungandr, claims our ship in the depths, if we fall in battle on a foreign shore, then we will die. But we will die with weapons in our hands. We will die with a battle cry on our lips. We will die a death worthy of song. And our souls will be carried by the Valkyries to Odin's great hall, where we will feast and fight beside the gods until Ragnarök itself is finally upon us. A change happens in the room. The air, once thick with despair, now crackles with a new, wild energy. You see men who were slumped in hopelessness begin to straighten their backs. You see the flicker of the old light return to their eyes. He has not offered them life. He has offered them something far more valuable to a Viking warrior, the chance at a good death. You grip the handle of the axe at your belt. Its familiar weight is a comfort. A slow nod passes between you and the man standing next to you. It is settled. The Jarl's desperate gamble is now your own. You will not wait for the end of the world to come to you. You will sail out to meet it. The Jarl's words have lit a fire in the frozen heart of the village. The crushing despair of waiting has been replaced by the cold, clean purpose of action. There is no more talk of the failing hunts or the empty storehouses. There is only work to be done. A grim, focused energy takes hold of your community. You are no longer starving men waiting for an end. You are warriors preparing for one. Your first task is to awaken the sea serpent. Your longship, the pride of the fjord, has slept for 3 long years under a thick blanket of snow and ice, sheltered in its long, timber-framed house by the water's edge. You and the other men begin the back-breaking work of digging it out. As the sleek, dark lines of the hull are revealed, a murmur of reverence passes through the men. Its clinker-built oak planks are still strong, its lines still proud and sharp, the lines of a sea dragon at rest. It is a symbol of a time when your world was larger than this frozen fjord, a time of wealth and adventure. Now it is your only hope. The ship is dragged from its shelter on great wooden rollers and brought to the shore. The preparations begin. You work on the hull, your fingers numb with cold, forcing new strands of wool, soaked in animal fat, into the gaps between the great planks. This is the caulking, the tedious but vital task of making the vessel watertight. Others follow behind you with buckets of hot black pine tar, slathering it over the seams to seal them from the sea. The sharp, medicinal smell of the tar fills the air, overpowering the scent of the cold. It is the scent of the sea. It is the scent of a voyage. In the Jarl's great hall, the women of the village have their own crucial task. The great square-rigged sail, made of heavy, woven wool, is spread across the floor. They work in the firelight, their hands, though thin from hunger, deft and sure as they mend small tears and reinforce the seams. They are weaving not just thread, but their hopes and their prayers into the very fabric that will carry you across the great water. Their silence is as focused and as determined as the men's outside. A blacksmith's forge, silent and cold for a season, now roars day and night like a captured dragon. Its fiery breath is the new heart of the village, and the clang of the smith's hammer on the anvil is its new heartbeat. A line of men forms outside his hut, each one holding a piece of his family's history. You bring him your axe. It was your father's, and his father's before him. Its oaken handle is dark and smooth from a century of use, but its edge is pitted and dull from years of neglect. It has been used to chop wood, not bone. The blacksmith, a giant of a man with arms as thick as your thigh, takes it from you without a word. He looks at the blade, nods, and with a pair of long tongs, plunges it into the glowing heart of the forge. He is not just sharpening steel, he is reawakening the spirit of your ancestors that sleeps within the iron. You watch as he works, the sparks flying like angry fireflies in the dim light. The rhythmic clang of his hammer, a powerful song of purpose. He pulls the glowing blade from the fire and plunges it into a trough of water. It hisses, a furious, violent sound, a serpent's cry as the steel is tempered and made hard once more. When the axe is returned to you, its edge is wickedly sharp, gleaming with a dark, hungry light. You perform your own ritual. You take your personal knife and carefully, painstakingly, recarve the runes on the wooden handle. The Tiwa's rune, the spear of the sky god Tyr, for victory in battle. The Uru's rune, the horns of the great aurochs, for strength and endurance. You are marking your weapon, binding it to your own fate. On the final day of preparations, the Jarl himself, with the help of several strong men, brings forth the dragon's head prow from the great hall. It is a masterpiece of carved wood, a snarling sea dragon with bared teeth and eyes of inlaid polished jet. It is the spirit of the ship. As it is mounted and secured to the high prow, it feels as if the ship itself has finally opened its eyes and let out a silent roar of defiance. The sea serpent is awake. You look around at the fierce, purposeful activity. The air smells of tar and hot metal. The sounds are of hammers and determined voices. This village is no longer dying. It has chosen its manner of death or its path to survival. Every swing of a hammer, every stitch in the sail, every newly sharpened blade is a prayer. It is a prayer that you will find a shore worthy of your fury, and a death worthy of a saga. The ship is ready. The weapons are sharp. The sail is mended. But one final preparation remains, the most important of all. A bargain must be struck with the gods. You cannot simply take from the world. A gift must be given for a gift to be received. On the eve of your departure, as the pale, weak sun bleeds into the horizon, the entire village gathers at the sacred site, a clearing in the woods marked by a circle of ancient standing stones that have witnessed 1,000 such rituals. The air is heavy with the smoke of burning juniper and the metallic scent of fresh blood. The Jarl, Herald Ironhand, stands before the great central stone, a rough-hewn monolith carved with the faded likeness of a one-eyed god. He is not just a warlord now. He is the Gothi, the priest, the link between this world and Asgard. Two men lead a great white horse into the circle. It is the Jarl's own stallion, the finest animal remaining in the village. Its coat as pure as the driven snow. Its sacrifice is not an act of cruelty, but of profound giving. You are offering the gods your best, your most valuable possession, to show them the gravity of your need. The horse is calm, as if it understands the honor it is being given. The Jarl raises a ceremonial spear, its tip gleaming in the firelight. He whispers a prayer to the horse, thanking it for its strength, for its life, for the gift it is about to become. Then, with a single, swift, practiced motion, he drives the spear into its heart. The great beast falls without a sound. Its blood, dark and steaming in the cold air, is collected in a large ceremonial bowl. The Jarl dips a bundle of fir twigs into the warm blood and walks the perimeter of the circle, anointing the forehead of every warrior who will sail on the morrow. You stand unflinching as he approaches you. The twigs, rough and sticky, are smeared across your brow. The blood is warm at first, then cools rapidly in the freezing air. You are now marked. You belong to the gods of war. With the marking complete, Harold raises his arms and his blood-streaked face to the gray, unforgiving sky. His voice booms through the silent clearing. Odin, All-Father, Wanderer, God of poetry and God of war, we offer you our finest. We offer you this blood, this strength, this life. Our world is dying. Grant us the wisdom to navigate the serpent sea. Grant our axes a thirsty bite, and our shields the strength of mountains. And for those of us destined to fall, his voice drops to a low, intense growl. Open wide the gates of your great hall. Let the Valkyries know our names and guide us to our rightful place at the Feast of Heroes. A great shout of Hail Odin goes up from the warriors, but the ceremony is not over. When the prayer is done, a figure emerges from the shadows of the trees. It is the Volva, the seeress of the village. She is ancient, a creature of bone and wrinkled skin, her eyes clouded over with a milky film, for she sees things in a world beyond this one. She moves to the central stone, and the Jarl, the most powerful man in the fjord, bows his head and offers her the bowl of blood. She does not speak. She dips her own gnarled fingers into the blood and smears it across the carved eye of the stone god. Then she begins to chant. Her voice is a low, rattling drone, a sound that seems to come from the earth itself. The words are from a language older than your own, the language of magic. Her body begins to tremble, then to shake violently. Her eyes roll back in her head. She is no longer here. She is seeing. The clearing is utterly silent, save for her rattling chant and the crackle of the fire. Then her voice changes, becoming strange, distant, and hollow. I see a dragon ship, she croaks, her voice seeming to come from all around you. Sailing on a sea of glittering serpent scales, I see a shore of impossible green, and a house of cold stone, filled with a pale, shining metal that weeps in the firelight. A murmur of excitement passes through the men. Silver, treasure. I see the wolf's howl on the shore, she continues, her voice growing stronger. I see red water, and hear the raven's cry of victory. Gold for the living, and glory for the dead. Her body convulses. The Valkyries, they prepare their horses for a great harvest of souls. I see the tables of Valhalla groaning with food for many, so many new guests from this fjord. A great victory at a great, great price. With a final, shuddering gasp, she collapses to the ground. Her vision ended. Silence. Two women rush forward to tend to her. The Jarl stands staring at the blood-smeared stone, his face a mask of grim resolve. The prophecy is a double-edged sword. It has promised you treasure. It has promised you victory. But it has also promised you death on a massive scale. There is no turning back now. The gods have accepted the offering. They have spoken. You touch the now cold and sticky blood on your forehead. You are marked for the journey. Tomorrow, you sail. The morning of the departure is unnervingly still. The wind that has howled for 3 years has fallen to a whisper. The sky is a flat, featureless sheet of gray. It is as if the world itself is holding its breath. The entire village, what is left of it, gathers on the frozen shore. There are no tears. The time for weeping is long past. There is only a profound, heavy silence as you and the other chosen warriors make your final preparations. You say goodbye to your family. You look into your wife's eyes and see not sorrow, but a hard, brittle strength. She places her hand on your chest, a silent gesture that speaks more than words ever could. You kneel before your children, memorize their small, pale faces. You tell them to be strong, to honor the Jarl, to keep the fire burning. You are making a promise you do not know if you can keep. This, you know, is the warrior's greatest sacrifice. Not the offering of his own life to the gods, but the offering of his family's future to the winds of fate. You turn your back on them and walk towards the longship. The sea serpent sits low in the icy water, laden with your meager supplies, barrels of precious water, chests of dried fish, and your weapons and shields. It looks small and fragile against the vast gray emptiness of the sea. You take your place at your designated oar, the rough wood familiar in your hands. The Jarl, Harold Ironhand, stands at the steering oar in the stern, his great frame a silhouette against the pale light. He gives the command, a deep, guttural shout. With a great, coordinated heave, the men on the shore push the ship away from the land, its hull scraping against the ice-crusted gravel. The vessel slides free. You are afloat. The order to row comes, and you dig your oar into the frigid gray water. You pull. The man in front of you pulls. The man behind you pulls. The ship begins to move, slowly at first, then gathering speed. You leave the shore behind. You leave your family behind. You are leaving the only world you have ever known. The figures on the shore grow smaller and smaller, until they are just indistinct shapes against the snow. Then they are gone. There is only the ship, the crew, and the immense, silent sea ahead. The prow of your ship is the great snarling dragon's head, its glass eyes staring unblinking at the horizon. You are sailing not in a vessel of wood, but in the belly of a beast, a dragon of the sea, and you are its heart, its muscles, its will. You are the dragon. This is the Viking way. To face the horrors of the world, you must become a monster yourself. You are sailing on the back of Jormungandr, the world serpent, the great beast that encircles all of Midgard, the Grey. Rolling waves are the coils of its immense body. The cold, salty spray that stings your face is its breath. Every creak of the ship's timbers is a reminder that you are a tiny, insignificant speck floating on the back of an ancient, unknowable god. The men begin a low, rhythmic chant as they row, a song of voyages and battles. Their voices a small, defiant sound against the vast silence of the sea and sky. You look forward, past the dragon's head at the prow, into the gray mist that veils the horizon. You are sailing away from the slow death of the Fimbulwinter, but you are sailing directly into the unknown. The seeress promised you silver and gold, a great victory, but she also promised a great price. You do not know what dangers await you in the lands of the Christmen. You do not know if you will find a shore to raid or a grave at the bottom of the sea. The only thing you know for certain is that you are no longer a farmer or a father. You are a raider, a wolf of the sea. You have chosen the path of the axe and the oar over the slow, ignominious death of the straw bed. You have gambled everything you have, your life, your family's future, on this single, desperate voyage. You pull on your oar, your muscles finding the familiar rhythm, and you do not look back. There is nothing to look back to. There is only the sea, and the fate the gods have woven for you. The saga songs do not speak of this part of the journey. The skalds, in their warm and firelit halls, sing of the great battles, of the gleam of sword on shield, of the mountains of silver and gold. They are silent on the truth of the sea. They do not sing of the filth, the boredom, and the relentless, grinding misery. The truth is that the journey to glory is paved with weeks of quiet, inglorious suffering. The sea serpent is a magnificent beast when seen from the shore, but to live in its belly is to live in a floating prison. There is no escape. There are no rooms, no cabins, no shelter from the elements. You are packed shoulder to shoulder with 50 other men on open rowing benches. You eat where you sit. You sleep where you sit, curled up in your damp wool cloak, your head resting on the hard wood of the sea chest that holds your few possessions. There is no privacy, no moment of peace. The man next to you snores. The man behind you coughs. And the smell of unwashed, seasick bodies is a constant, suffocating presence. Everything you own is damp. Your sleeping furs, your spare tunic, the leather of your boots, all of it is saturated with a mixture of sea spray and the cold, damp air. A deep, penetrating chill settles into your bones and does not leave day or night. The sea spray is a constant, fine mist that coats your face and beard with a crust of salt, making your skin feel tight and raw. For the first few days, your stomach is a traitor. It heaves and churns with the endless, unpredictable, rolling motion of the ship. You are not a fisherman, you are a man of the land, and your body rebels against this unnatural state. You spend hours leaning over the carved side of the ship, vomiting the meager contents of your belly into the indifferent gray waves. Your body becomes weak, your mind foggy with nausea. You see other men, strong warriors who would not flinch from a sword point, reduced to pale groaning heaps, their pride washed away with their last meal. When the wind dies and the great square sail hangs limp and useless, the oars are brought out. The Jarl's command to row is a death sentence for your muscles. The oar is long and heavy, and its rough, salt-encrusted wood rubs your hands raw until they blister and bleed. You pull, leaning back with all your weight, your back screaming with a pain that eclipses all others. The man in front of you sets the rhythm, and for hours there is only the rhythmic groan of the oarlocks. The splash of the oars and the burning fire in your shoulders and back. This is not the work of a warrior. It is the work of a slave. Your food is as monotonous as the endless sea. You chew on strips of dried cod, so hard and salty it makes your gums ache and your thirst rage. You gnaw on hard, dry flatbread that tastes of nothing but stale flour and weevils. The water from the barrels is warm and tastes of wood and breen slime. You eat not for pleasure, but for the simple, mechanical need to keep the last of your strength from fading away entirely. The gaze blur into a single, gray expanse. The boredom is a physical presence, as oppressive as the cold. Tempers fray in the cramped space. A small imagined slight becomes a mortal insult. An argument breaks out over a dropped tool. A hard stare is exchanged over a shared portion of fish. You are a pack of wolves trapped in a small floating cage, and your own aggressive natures, with no enemy to focus on, begin to turn against each other. It takes the Jarl's roaring threats to prevent blood from being spilled. You stare out at the endless gray horizon, a line that never changes, a destination that never seems to get closer. You feel like a tiny, insignificant speck of dirt on an infinite ocean. You lose track of time. Was it 3 days ago you left shore? Or was it a lifetime? The glory of Valhalla, the promise of silver, it all seems like a foolish dream from another world. You begin to wonder if this is the true Fimbulwinter, not a winter of snow and ice, but a great, eternal, and empty sea, designed to grind a man's spirit down to nothing before his body even has a chance to die. The grinding misery of the calm is replaced by the sharp, shrieking terror of the storm. It begins with the sea itself. The gentle gray swells that have rocked you for days turn slick and oily, their color deepening to a bruised, unnatural black. The wind, which had been your absent tormentor, dies completely. An unnatural, heavy silence falls over the world. A silence so profound that you can hear the creak of every timber in the ship, the nervous cough of the man beside you. The seabirds that had been following your vessel disappear. They know what is coming. Then a wind hits you. It is not a breeze. It is a solid wall of force, a physical blow that shoves the longship sideways in the water. It is a cold, hateful breath that seems to have come from the heart of Jotunheimer itself, a foul gust from the land of the frost giants. The sky, once a monotonous gray, is now a churning cauldron of black and deep purple clouds that boil on the horizon and rush towards you with an impossible speed. The sea begins to heave, not in waves, but in great mountainous swells. You realize with a surge of primal fear that these are not waves. These are the coils of Jormungandr, the world serpent, thrashing in the angry depths below. The sea serpent is lifted up on a mountain of black water, and for a dizzying moment you see nothing but the raging sky. Then you plunge down into a deep valley of churning sea, the waves towering over you on either side like liquid cliffs. The ship groans. The sound of a living creature in agony. There is no order on the deck, only controlled chaos. The Jarl, a titan himself, fights the great steering oar, his face a mask of grim concentration, his voice a roaring challenge to the storm itself. But his commands are snatched away by the wind, which now howls with the voice of 1,000 daemons. You and the other men work on pure instinct, your bodies moving with the desperate efficiency of survival. The great woolen sail is lowered in a frantic rush, but not before the wind catches it, tearing a great rent in the fabric, with a sound like a giant scream. The mast creaks and groans, threatening to snap. You are no longer a warrior. You are a sailor, a survivor, clinging to this fragile shell of wood in a It begins. You do not charge screaming from the cliffs. You move like a fast-moving fog, flowing over the final 100 yards to the gate, your feet making no sound. The monk in the garden looks up, alerted not by a sound, but by a sudden change in the light, a flicker of movement. His face is a mask of confusion, not yet fear. That will come later, for others. For him, there is only the sight of a great, bearded man swinging an axe. He falls without a sound. The first drop of blood has been spilled on this foreign soil. You reach the gate. It is old, thick wood, barred from the inside, but it was not built to withstand the focused fury of 50 desperate men. You and the others pick up a heavy log, a piece of driftwood from the beach, and use it as a battering ram. The first blow sends a deep, echoing boom across the courtyard. You hear shouts of alarm from within. The second blow cracks the wood. The third shatters the bar, and the gates burst inward. You pour into the monastery courtyard like a tidal wave of violence. The peaceful quiet of the god house is shattered by your war cries. It is a sound you have not made in 3 years. It is a howl of hunger, of desperation, of a winter's worth of pent-up rage. It is the howl of the wolf. Monks, their faces pale and soft with a life of prayer and easy meals, scatter like frightened birds. They have never seen men like you. They have only read of daemons and devils in their holy books. Now the daemons are real, and they are in their home. You smash open the heavy oaken door to the main hall, the place they call a church. The air inside is strange, smelling of sweet incense, melting wax, and old parchment. And you see it. Gold. It is everywhere. A great golden cross on an altar, golden goblets and silver plates, jeweled boxes and richly embroidered cloths. It is more wealth than you have ever seen in your entire life. A strange fire, a red haze, fills your mind. This is the Berserker Gang, the battle fury you have only heard about in sagas. The world narrows to the axe in your hand and the task before you. A man in a dark robe, his face contorted in a mask of righteous fury, stands in your way. He holds a heavy golden cross like a weapon, shouting words in a language you do not understand. You laugh, a harsh barking sound that is not your own. Your axe, the tool of a farmer and a woodsman, becomes a weapon of war. It rises and falls. The world is simple now. There are wolves, and there is prey. You are no longer thinking. You are an animal, a force of nature. You stuff silver plates into a sack until it is heavy. You tear a golden chain from the neck of a wooden statue of a tortured man. You find the kitchens, the storehouses, and here is the true treasure. Barrels of dark, rich ale, wheels of yellow cheese, smoked meats and loaves of soft white bread. To you, in this moment, this is more valuable than all the gold of all the kings in the world. You stand for a moment in the center of the plundered, burning hall, your chest heaving, your axe dripping. You have done it. The seeress's prophecy has come true. You have found silver that weeps in the firelight. You have found victory. But as you look at the broken bodies of the unarmed men at your feet, a cold question, a whisper from the man you used to be, enters your mind. What kind of victory is this? Your battle fury, the red haze that simplified the world into predator and prey, begins to fade. It leaves behind a strange, ringing silence in your ears, and the coppery taste of blood in your mouth. You stand in the burning ruins of the monastery, your sack of plunder heavy on your shoulder, your axe feeling slick and clumsy in your hand. The fires you set are now roaring, casting a wild, dancing light on the scenes of carnage around you. The easy part is over. A horn sounds from the valley below. It is not the deep, resonant horn of your own Jarl. It is a higher, clearer note, a call to arms. The local lord, the Thing of this land, has been alerted. His own warriors, his feared, are coming. You hear the shouts of your Jarl, Harold Ironhand, calling his men, his voice cutting through the chaos. To the beach, form the wall, to the beach. The raid, which had been a chaotic explosion of individual combat, now becomes something else. You and your fellow Vikings, your sacks of treasure dropped on the sand, form a line at the edge of the beach where your longship waits. It is the Skjaldborg, the shield wall. It is the foundation of Viking warfare, your fortress of wood and iron and flesh. You stand shoulder to shoulder with the men beside you, your own round shield locked with theirs. Its edge overlapping the shield of your neighbor. You create a solid, interlocking wall of painted wood and iron bosses. Through the gaps, you thrust your spears, their leaf-shaped heads a hedge of glittering death. You are no longer 50 individual warriors. You are a single, armored beast with 100 sharp teeth. You see them coming. They are not the terrified monks in their robes. These are warriors. They wear leather helmets and carry kite-shaped shields. They are a militia, farmers and villagers called to defend their lord. But they are determined. They outnumber you 2 to 1. They form their own shield wall opposite you, 100 yards across the wet sand. For a moment, there is only the sound of the sea and the crackle of the burning monastery on the cliffs above. Two great, armored creatures, sizing each other up, ready to collide. Their lord gives a shout, and they begin to advance, their steps a rhythmic, pounding beat on the sand. They raise their own voices in a great war cry to their pale, nailed god. You answer with your own, a deep, guttural roar that comes from the belly your shield wall, a promise of death to all who face you. Then they hit. The impact is a physical shock that jars your entire body. It is not the clean, clashing sound of swords you hear in stories. It is the wet, percussive thud of wood on wood, of iron on iron, the grunt of men straining, the splintering of shields. The two walls are locked together now, a great, struggling scrum of men, pushing, shoving, straining for an advantage. Your world shrinks to the small space in front of you. You push with your shield, your shoulder screaming in protest, your feet digging into the sand to hold your ground. You are fighting not just the man in front of you, but the weight of all the men behind him. An enemy spear thrusts through a gap to your left. The man beside you, a young warrior named Finn, catches it on his shield with a grunt. You, in turn, stab your own spear into the face of the man in front of you, who screams and falls back, his place immediately taken by another. It is a meat grinder. It is hot, claustrophobic work. The air is thick with the smell of sweat and blood and fear. You are fighting in a tight, compressed space, your movements restricted by the men on either side of you. A man in your own line falls, a spear in his throat, and the man behind him instantly steps forward to plug the gap, his shield locking into place. The wall must not break. You lose all track of time. There is only the pushing, the stabbing, the shouting. You see a fearsome warrior in the enemy line, a great bear of a man with a heavy axe, smashing his way through your shields. He breaks the shield of the man to your right. For a single, terrifying second, there is a hole in your wall. The enemy surges forward, sensing a weakness. But your Jarl, Harold, is there. He meets the champion's charge with a roar, his own great axe a blur of motion. The two axes meet with a scream of tortured metal. This is the reality of battle. It is not a series of noble duels. It is a desperate, ugly, pushing match. It is a test of stamina and raw, brutal cohesion. You are no longer thinking about Valhalla or glory. You are thinking only of the man in front of you. of keeping your shield locked with your neighbors, of not being the one to falter, of not being the one to let the wall break. The enemy shield wall, unable to withstand the focused, desperate fury of your attack, finally buckles. It does not break in a clean line, but shatters, dissolving from a cohesive unit into 100 small, desperate duels across the blood-soaked sand. The battle becomes a chaotic, swirling melee of individual survival. You find yourself fighting beside Finn, the young warrior from the bench next to yours on the ship. He is barely a man, his beard thin on his cheeks, but his eyes, which had been wide with fear at the start of the battle, now burn with the fierce, ecstatic fire of his first real taste of combat. He moves with a wild, youthful energy, his shield held high, his axe a blur of motion. He roars with a voice that has not yet fully broken as he dodges a clumsy sword swing from a farmer-turned-soldier and buries his own axe deep in the man's leather-armored shoulder. A look of pure, almost shocked triumph flashes across his face as the man falls. He has proven himself. He is a warrior. He turns to you, a wide, bloody grin spreading across his face, his eyes alight, eager to share the glory of his first kill. And in that single fatal moment of youthful pride, he makes a mistake. He lowers his shield by a few inches, turning his attention away from the battle and towards you, his friend. A spear, thrown from the second rank of the enemy line by a man you did not even see, arcs through the air. It takes Finn high in the chest, just below the throat, punching through his leather tunic with a sickening, wet thud. The triumphant grin on his face does not fade. It freezes, then transforms into a look of profound, childlike surprise. He makes a soft, gurgling sound, the battle cry in his throat turning to a liquid whisper. He looks down at the spear shaft protruding from his chest as if it were a curious object that did not belong to him. Then his eyes find yours, full of a terrible, silent question. He falls to his knees and then pitches forward into the sand. Time seems to stop. The chaos of the battle, the screams of men, the clang of steel, it all fades to a dull, distant roar. You see not a warrior falling in battle. You see the boy who stole apples with you from the Jarl's orchard when you were children. You see the boy whose father helped your father build a boat. You see the boy who swore on his first arm ring that he would be the first to take a head on this shore. A fire, hotter and more terrible than any berserker rage, ignites in the pit of your stomach. It is the white-hot, purifying fire of grief. You do not know who threw the spear. It does not matter. You turn towards the enemy line, and your eyes lock on the man closest to Finn's body. A nondescript soldier with a beard and a look of grim satisfaction on his face. He is already engaging another of your comrades. You do not challenge him. You do not shout a threat. You simply move. You are no longer a man. You are an avenging spirit, an instrument of pure finality. Your shield shatters his spear shaft. Your axe rises and falls. It is not a blow of skill. It is a blow of pure, absolute hate. He falls without ever seeing who killed him. You stand over the two bodies. The one, a stranger, an enemy, now just a heap of bloody linen and cooling flesh. The other, your friend. The red haze in your mind recedes, leaving behind a vast, cold, and silent emptiness. The battle still rages around you, but it is a world away. You kneel beside Finn for a single heartbeat, ignoring the danger. With a trembling hand, you close his surprised eyes. You look up at the gray, indifferent sky, a sky that is now weeping a soft rain. The Valkyries saw you, brother. You whisper into the din of battle, your voice rough. They saw you die with a weapon in your hand. A seat is waiting for you at Odin's table, Skald. It is the only comfort you can offer. It is the only comfort that matters. You retrieve your shield. The battle is still raging around you, but it is different now. You are no longer fighting for silver or for survival. You are fighting for the dead. You are fighting because it is all that is left to do. Every enemy you kill from this moment on is not a man. He is a tribute, a sacrifice, an offering to the memory of the boy you left behind on the bloody sand. The last of the Christmen, their shield wall shattered and their champion slain, finally break and run. They drop their weapons and flee back towards the valley. Their cries of fear a pathetic echo of their earlier war cries. No one gives chase. The fire for killing has been extinguished, drowned in a tide of blood and sheer soul-crushing exhaustion. Silence descends on the beach, a heavy, ringing silence broken only by the weak. Guttural cries of the wounded and the mournful, eternal sound of the sea washing against the shore. You stand leaning on your axe as if it were a crutch, your body a landscape of pain. The beach is no longer sand. It is a red-brown mud slick with the blood of two peoples. It is littered with the dead, their bodies twisted into the unnatural shapes of violent death. Friends and foes lie together, their arms outstretched, their shields broken, their eyes staring blankly at the same gray, indifferent sky. The work of the living begins. You find a man from your own crew with a deep gash in his leg, his face pale from blood loss. You tear another strip from your now tattered tunic and bind it tightly around the wound, a crude but necessary act of battlefield medicine. You give him a drink of ale from a skin you took from a dead man. His chances are poor. You know the wound will fester, but it is what you can do. It is what is done. You move among the living, helping where you can, avoiding the faces of the dead. The Jarl, his great axe resting on his shoulder, walks through the carnage. His face is a stone mask. "Count our dead," he commands, his voice flat. The tally is taken. The number comes back. 10. 10 men. 10 empty spaces on the rowing benches. A fifth of your strength, gone in a single, brutal afternoon. The seeress's words echo in your mind, a cold and chilling truth. Glory for the dead, many new guests from this fjord. She did not lie. Other men, those who are least injured, are bringing the last of the plunder from the now silent monastery. Sacks of silver coins are emptied onto a woolen cloak, the metal looking dull and gray in the fading light. A golden cross, studded with rough-cut jewels, lies half buried in the bloody sand, its holy purpose seeming like a mockery now. A stack of silver plates, beautifully crafted, are piled next to a heap of blood-stained weapons. It all seems like worthless trinkets. A fool's payment for the lives of men like Finn. The food, the barrels of ale and sacks of flour, that is the only treasure that holds any meaning. The Jarl orders the captured barrels of ale to be opened. He fills his own great drinking horn and raises it high, his arm smeared with the blood of other men. To the fallen, he roars, his voice rough with grief and exhaustion. To their courage, may the Valkyries guide them swiftly. And may their stories be told in our halls for 1,000 years. Skål! You all raise your horns, your axes, your bloody hands, and you roar his toast back at him. Skål! You drink deeply. The ale is rich and strong, far better than your own watery brew, but it tastes of ash and sorrow. You look down the beach at the line of your dead friends, laid out side by side, their faces cleaned and their weapons placed on their chests, ready for their journey. You see Finn's young, still surprised face among them. You have won. You have treasure that will make your village rich beyond its wildest dreams. You have food that will see you through the rest of the winter. You have survived to see another day. But as you look at the line of your dead brothers, you do not feel like a victor. You do not feel like a hero from the sagas. You feel like a gravedigger. The victory is a bitter fruit, and its taste is the taste of your own kinsman's blood. Before you leave this bloody shore, you attend to your own. You do not bury your dead in the soil of the Christmen to be dug up by their angry god. You build a great mound of stones on the beach, high above the tide line. You carry your 10 brothers, Finn among them. Lay them inside, their bodies wrapped in the fine embroidered cloths you plundered from their church. You place their shields upon their chests, and their broken axes and spears in their hands. They must be ready for the feast when they arrive in Odin's hall. The Jarl speaks a final prayer, committing their spirits to the Valkyries. There is no time for a great funeral fire. The mound of stones will be their only marker. A last of the plunder is loaded onto the sea serpent. The sacks of silver and gold, the chests of food, the barrels of ale. The wounded are made as comfortable as possible in the stern, their groans a quiet, constant counterpoint to the sound of the waves. The Jarl gives the order to push off. The longship, its hull now low in the water, its belly heavy with silver and sorrow, slides back into the sea. You take your place at the oar, the bench that once held you and Finn, the space where you shared stories and stale bread, now holds only you. The empty space beside you is a physical presence, a cold void that speaks of your loss more loudly than any cry of grief. You look around the ship. There are 10 such voids in the rowing benches, 10 ghosts who will complete this journey with you. You are sailing home with the spirits of the dead. The journey home is a silent one. No one sings the sagas now. The words would taste like ash in their mouths. No one boasts of the heads they took or the wealth they won. The men stare out at the sea, their minds filled with the images of the battle. The treasure, piled in the center of the ship, gleams dully. It does not look like victory. It looks like the cause of all this death. You watch the Jarl. He does not celebrate. He stares at the horizon, his hand on the steering oar, his face carved from ancient stone. He has led his men to plunder that will save his people, but he has led a fifth of them to their deaths. You see the weight of that knowledge in the slump of his shoulders. You look back at the distant shore of the Christmen, a thin line of green that is now sinking into the sea. You came here as a desperate man, seeking to escape a slow death. You are returning as a killer, a robber, and a survivor. You have food to feed your children, but you have paid for it with the life of your friend. You wonder if the Norns, the weavers of fate, look down on this and see a bargain well struck. You turn your gaze north, towards your frozen home, and you know, with a chilling certainty, that the Fimbulwinter still waits for you there. This raid, this small, brutal war on a foreign shore, has not solved the world's problems. It has only solved your own for a short time. You realize this battle was not the battle. It was just an echo, a tremor before the great earthquake, a single bloody skirmish in the opening act of Ragnarök. A gray sea stretches out before you. You are sailing home, a victor laden with treasure. But you do not feel like a conqueror. You feel like a man who has looked into the face of the world's end and has seen his own reflection there. The true winter is still coming, and you know, with a certainty that chills you more than any sea spray, that you and all the men you know, both the living and the dead, are simply fighting for the honor of being the last to die.